Good morning. I'm Barbara Colton, and I'm Vice President of the Board of Trustees. Welcome to Mainline Unitarian Church on this beautiful Sunday. It's great to see so many of the kids and families back from the summer and the teachers here for the start of the new year and ready to roll. Special welcome to our friends online who are joining us today, and warm greetings to visitors as well. We hope you'll join us after the service for coffee hour so we have a chance to meet you and get to know you a little better. So a little bit about MLUC. Here, we are a loving, liberal, and inclusive community of faith. We join together to care and support one another as we search for meaning and purpose, strive to become our best selves, and work together to bring compassion, equity, and responsible stewardship to the world we share. Now, let me introduce our worship team this morning. We will be led and inspired by Reverend John Morehouse, our senior minister. Dawn Star Sarah Borchelt, our director of Lifespan Faith Development, will lead our time for all ages, and I believe there will be a recognition and dedication of our religious education teachers, children, and youth. Carolyn Bright, our ministerial intern, will lead our call to worship. And Tina Adams is our lovely worship associate today. And let's give a special thanks to Danton Arlotto, who is a former student of Dr. Craig, for joining us this Sunday. Thank you, Dan. So I have a few announcements. The memorial service here at Mainline for Dr. Vincent Craig will be held on October 14th at 11 a.m., followed by a luncheon at 1 p.m. Please be sure to sign up and contribute a dish for the luncheon. As I mentioned a moment ago, faith development classes for children and youth start today. Yay! If you have any questions about where your child belongs, need to fill out the registration form, or just have questions, please see Dawn Star in the atrium. Also, a reminder, the meeting about the new Pastoral Associates program will take place today, right after the coffee hour, well, maybe 11:20 a.m. to be precise, but it will be held in the McGinnis room, not the Greeley Library. So if you're interested in learning about the program and possibly participating, please join in the discussion. On a related note, the board would like to share the news that John Smith has resigned from the Board of Trustees. He will be focusing on his very strong interest in an expanded pastoral care program and pastoral care ministry here at Mainline, and he will be an integral part of the Pastoral Associates program that we discussed in the meeting after coffee hour today. And we thank him for his dedication and interest in strengthening the ministry here at Mainline in the pastoral care area. I'd also like to mention that Carolyn Bright is going for her interview with the Ministerial Fellowship Committee next Saturday. Woohoo! This is big and only step 487 in the process of becoming a minister. We have no doubt the ministers will welcome her into fellowship with open arms. Now, kindly silence your electronic devices and join me in saying our mission statement together. We transform lives through love, service, and our welcoming faith.
we call forth the life of our faith by lighting our chalice. This spark of new beginnings invites us into a sacred space to reflect where we have been and where we are going. Even knowing that this particular flame will intentionally end with our ritual extinguishing, we fear not its end. For we know with brave hearts that from every ending of our lives, we are sent forth to a new beginning.
To this house we come bringing our boldest dreams, seeking here the inspiration and strength to make them be. To this house we come hoping to bury broken dreams, to be sustained through their pain, and to discover new ones amidst their tears. We come here lonely, isolated from meaningful human contact, searching for warmth and closeness and care, needing to grow beyond plateaus of the commonplace. We seek here challenges and commitments productive of greater wholeness and deeper meanings. We come intense and constructive, hoping for encouragement to shed our pretenses and to be ourselves. Filled with despair and self-doubt, we seek affirmations, prodding us to say yes to ourselves and to life. Somehow, always putting happiness ahead of ourselves, we enter into this place, trusting that what happens here will enable us to make and to accept a little bit of it now, today. Strange place, this house. Here we cry, sing, laugh, hurt, dance, touch, survive, celebrate, grow, search, doubt, hope, rejoice, pray, trust, care, learn, think, wonder, be, become. Yes, this morning, to this house we come, because a loud church is a healthy church. So I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join us for our opening hymn, May Nothing Evil Cross This Door. Time for All Ages today, we will be welcoming and calling forth our young people and their teachers as we begin the new church year. So, to start us off, I call from among you our 3- and 4-year-old class. Come on up. If you are going to the 3- and 4-year-old class, or if you are teaching or helping in it, will you come forward? This class is called Celebrating Me and My World. Yay. Come on up.
I call from among you the kindergarten to 5th grade class. If you're in this class, teaching it or helping with it, will you come forward, please? This class is called Soul Matters Workshops, and they're making us coconut lemonade for coffee hour.
I call from among you the 6th and 7th grade class. If you are in this class, or if you are teaching it, will you please come forward? This is our Crossing Paths class.
Our 8th grade, our 8th and 9th grade, our whole lives class is already meeting with their teachers this morning, and our youth group will begin meeting later in the year. We also have short classes throughout the year, a 2nd and 3rd grade Stepping Stones class, and a K1 Our Whole Lives class, and a 4th and 5th grade Our Whole Lives class.
We are so glad that you are all here. So here is my question. Are you ready to learn and grow together? If you are ready to learn and grow together, say, we will. We will.
And congregation, these are your children and those you trust to guide them. Will you hold these kids and teachers in your hearts, ask them what they need, and work to give it to them, welcome new families, and nurture new teachers, and if so, answer, we will. We will. Thank you.
All right, and now we will all go down the center aisle and out the doors and to your classes. I'm gonna come.
They teach us how to be joyful. Each month, we select an offering outreach partner, a local charitable organization that we feel is worthy to receive half our weekly collection to help them with their missions. Our offering outreach partner for September is Mighty Writers. Mighty Writers teaches children ages 3 through 17 to think and write with clarity so they can achieve success at school and work and therefore lead a more fulfilling life. Through partnering with schools and community organizations, Mighty Writers focuses on amplifying the voices of its students with providing free, high-quality, community-oriented writing programs. They have sites in Philadelphia, Chester County, and New Jersey, and they also offer classes virtually, after school, and through the summer. Their short-term goal is to improve academic performance and social-emotional skills. Their bigger, long-term goal is to alleviate poverty. Through the valuable work of Mighty Writers, communities are getting stronger as each child reaches their maximum potential. To make a cashless donation in person, or if watching remotely, please follow the instructions that you see on the screen or use the Give link in our church website. May generosity always be the spirit of this congregation. The offering will now be gratefully received. Candles of Community is our ritual of personal sharing and support. After each candle is lit, please join me in saying, "We hold you in our hearts." We light a candle of sorrow and concern for all those who have suffered because of Hurricane Lee, which now has made landfall in western Nova Scotia. For all those who have felt powerless in its path, we hold you in our hearts. We light a candle of joy for Dave Van Oker and his family as they announce the birth of a granddaughter, Cameron Blickel, to Allie and Carl Blickel, her proud parents. Cameron was born on Monday evening, September 11th. For the Van Oker and Blickel families, and to welcome Cameron into our midst, we hold you in our hearts. We light a candle of joy and hope for all those celebrating the Jewish New Year, the high holiday of Rosh Hashanah, along with the new moon, ushering in gradualness and change. For all those celebrating, we say, Shana Tova, have a good and pleasing year. And for everyone, I'd like to add, Hine matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. How good and pleasing it is to sit in unity together. And for joys and concerns or sorrows that we carry within us that are unspoken or too deep for words, we light a candle, we say a prayer, and we send love and healing and hold you in our hearts.
When I first suggested the idea of an investiture, several of the board members said that sounds strangely Catholic to me. And I said, it's an old word, but it has many meanings. Although, point well taken, it could be a slippery slope. So I call from among you, you the people, your board of trustees, and those trustees who are in the room, if you please come forward to the chancel here. My dear board, you have been elected by your fellow members to lead us into our future. In this role, will you do your utmost to help guide us through wise counsel, important policies, fiduciary responsibility, and with me, your minister, into a truly shared ministry, and if so, indicate by saying, we will. We will. And will the congregation please rise in body or spirit? Beloveds, this is your board of trustees. And as the name implies, these leaders need your support and trust if they are to help guide us into the promise of our future. So please repeat after me the words that are on the screen. We, the members and friends of Mainline Unitarian Church, invest in you, our elected board of trustees, our hopes, goodwill, and trust that you will lead us into our future. We will do our best to offer assistance when asked. We will do our best to offer praise often. And when we disagree, we pledge to do so in a way that is respectful, responsible, and open. We offer our hands and our hearts as we embark on this journey together. Let's give them a round of applause.
Now let's reflect together. We whose journeys are always beginning, we whose mission always awaits us, we whose visions are bent on loving, we gather together here. We gather as a community drawn together out of common need, each toting our own carpet bag of treasures and dreams. We gather together seeking meaning, yearning to understand life in all its dimensions, as it challenges and expands, as it burdens, as it consoles and heals. We gather together with questions, the kind of questions that provoke us to the path of action. We gather with hope, the kind of hope that pulses on through uncertainty. We gather with tenderness, the kind of tenderness that can only be born from knowing human capabilities as well as human imperfections. We gather wanting certainty and having none. But we are wakeful to possibilities as we seek discernment and gentle judgment. We gather then, unbounded, but close. We gather thirsting. We gather drawn to our Creator, our source. Amen.
Some summers ago, I had the opportunity to do some canoeing down the St. John River in Maine. It's where the Maine borders with Canada. It was supposed to be a 2-day journey starting near the Canadian border and ending near what once was our summer home south of Calais, or as in Maine they pronounce it, Calais. It started off with all the wonderful fanfare of a summer outing. The drop-off went smoothly. It was a side stream to the great river, and we would, in 2 canoes, ride into the main body of water. We'd go 30 miles downstream to the takeout point where the rest of the family would have pitched camp. It had rained a great deal the day before, and the river was high, but not so high that we were worried. We got into the river, we got into the main body. It's a beautiful river. There were 5 of us. My daughter Fiona and her husband Aaron, my daughter Courtney, my dad, and myself. The first day was uneventful except for the occasional spot of rapids, which sort of added to the excitement of it all. And we camped on the Canadian side of the river without passport and enjoyed a brilliant sky. We had Dinty Moore beef stew in a can, who knows that, and warm beer, which always tastes better by the campfire. The next day was misty, and the river seemed to be running a little faster. It was less paddling and more steering, and after portaging a dam, we encountered much faster currents on the other side. At this point, we were pretty tired and wondering just how far we had to go. When you're on a wild Maine river, there's not a lot of markers. The river broadened a bit and then suddenly narrowed as 2 streams, strong streams from the side, came together, and we realized that we were in a Class 2 rapid. This was moving us along very fast now, and all we could do was warn each other of the rocks and shout and steer the best we could. And then suddenly, as if on cue, both the canoes overturned. We held on to the turtled up canoes with dear life as it swirled around, and then we dropped us into this huge basin of water, almost a lake. Coughing and shouting now, making sure everyone was all right. And I was so thankful that my son-in-law had lashed in all our provisions into the body of the canoe. We coughed and shouted and tried to figure out how we were going to get the canoes upright, which is not easy to do when you're in running water. And suddenly, I hear laughter. Somebody is on the shore laughing at us. And I look over, and there's the rest of the family. And they're laughing at us. And I don't think this is funny at all. And we're trying to push the canoes and paddle with our feet and try to push the canoes to the shore. And then we hear, "Stand up." What? Stand up. The water was only 3 feet deep. I want us, friends, to remember times in our lives when our canoes overturned. And what I'd like you to do is turn to your neighbor, if you feel comfortable doing that, and share quickly a time in your life when your canoe overturned. Let's do that for just a minute. You know, it's always a little tricky doing this and getting your attention again. It's a good thing you don't know each other, I tell you. All right, just quickly, in a word or two if you want to share, what was the moment when your life overturned? Anyone? When Vincent died, yeah. And divorce. Lost a client? Yeah. I'm sure there's others, and those of you who want to share afterwards, I certainly would love to hear about these overturned moments. But friends, we are embarking on a great experiment in this ministry that I have with you and you with me. And I've been calling this a journey of transformation, taking from your mission statement that understanding that you're here to transform lives. And transformation is such a powerful word. It talks about change from one form to another. There will be difficulties along the way, which is why I use the canoe metaphor. There will be times when we will hit rocks. There will be times when we will overturn. But if we have faith and trust in each other, I believe we will be just fine. And we will grow stronger. As Erik Erikson and many other psychologists pointed out, you grow stronger when you have opportunities to overcome challenge. You have had so much challenge as a congregation of late. And if we go all the way back to the burning of the building, the rebuilding of this one, If we go all the way back to the times when you've had trouble with ministers or other staff people, when there have been inter-congregational disagreements, if you go back far enough, you'll find that there's plenty of times you've hit rough water. And of course, as someone said already, we feel as if our boat is overturned with the loss of Vincent. You've had calm waters and you've had churned waters, and I would hazard to guess that you are wondering what kind of river we're getting into now. But friends, here's the journey. Our journey can either be like an arc, where we go from one ending to a new beginning, or it can be a bowl, where we sink down into a new beginning and then try again. It depends on whether you see the glass half full or empty. But we're on a journey. And a journey only begins when there's an ending to something else. But here's the thing, the ending doesn't just stop and then a new journey begins. Endings end as new journeys are beginning, and that happens over a period of time. If I look back at your last search process that got you here, your amazing search committee did such an amazing job looking for that settled minister who would come and be in this pulpit today. And either because others weren't quite ready to be your minister yet, or perhaps you weren't ready for that kind of ministry, Reverend Dave and your board agreed to do something called developmental ministry. And you ended up with a developmental minister. Me. We were once a larger congregation than we are now, but I believe if I have my numbers right, we're still the largest congregation in Pennsylvania. You are still a large congregation. What happened with the UUA is that they started to change the measure. Move the goalposts, right? A large congregation used to be over 500 people, now it's over 400. And I think that speaks to the change that's happening in the culture at large. We understand that the millennial generation and Generation Z are looking for a different kind of religious experience. And it may not always be on a Sunday. And it won't always be in the format that we're used to seeing it in. But that doesn't mean they're any less spiritual out there. And our job will be to find a way to attract them in various forms, not all of them centered on Sunday morning. I have been learning recently about small groups who have members who don't ever come to the service. And some people sort of hang their head and go, oh, that's too bad, they should come to the service. And I say, I don't care. If you come to the service, good for you. If you don't, then you're finding your religious community someplace else. Although whatever you do, I expect you to support financially your congregation. Because if you don't do that, all bets are off, right? We can't go where we want to go. But our journey is beginning as another one is ending. And what I want to say to you, and I said it I think last week, and I want to say it again, is there's no failure here. I don't want to hear about how once we were great and now we're not. You're still great. And I look into the faces of the elders here, myself being one of them. I'm sure many of you look into the mirror and you go, who is that old person? And I see wisdom, and I see experience. And as I look into the faces of the young families that are coming here, I see hope and I see courage. And I am here to travel this journey with you. We're going to create new ways of doing things. We're going to experiment with different ways of being together. And we will make mistakes. I say this often, you'll hear me say it often. I'm not interested in perfection. I'm interested in participation. We, unfortunately, because of who we are in the world today, I think a congregation like this thinks about making sure we get it right. We get it done and we get it right. The getting done, great. The getting right, I'm less interested in. I'm more interested in seeing more of you, which is why I'm spending so much time in this first year, and thanks to my transition team, to get to know as many of you as possible in conversation. because I think we need to build the relationships. I believe that as we enter this time of not knowing, what is also sometimes called the liminal world, we're entering a time where we're co-creating a congregation and a sense of the sacred in ways that we may not have seen before. This is known, by the way, in theological circles as process theology. Process theology basically says God is co-creating with us. And don't get hung up on the word God. Any greater meaning in your life. And that's really what we're doing. We're co-creating something new. Perhaps a God of love and life and hope. But most important is that we co-create together. So what will propel us on this journey of ours? Paddles will propel us. And the paddles I'm most interested in are the paddles of trust. Trust shall be our paddles. Now, I know some of you think that trust is not something that this congregation is well known for. I've heard some of the stories. And I think, well, that's great, you did that. Now we're going to do something new. We are going to try to trust one another, as I just asked you to do to your trustees and your teachers and the kids and the families. We're going to try to trust one another, and in the trusting, we will be able to paddle down our river. Todd Belsling, in his book, Canoeing the Mountains, said, it's possible to prepare for the future without knowing what it will be. The primary way that we prepare to the unknown is to attend to the quality of our relationships. Relationships are really what matters most, even before you would get anything done. I'm much more interested in seeing you being relational with one another rather than getting the job done. We're not driving that way. We're driving the hope and the love, because the lives that we're hoping to change are lives that are sorely in need of love. There are so many people in the world who would love to find our doors and find their way in because they're lonely, but they're hurting. And I tell membership folks all the time, I said, if somebody's showing up here for the first time, chances are they weren't just bored on Sunday morning. Chances are something's changed in their life and they need a community like this one, a community that relates to each other. That beautiful title, Canoeing the Mountains, comes from the trip that Lewis and Clark took in 1803 with Thomas Jefferson, sending them out to chart the Northwest Passage on the Missouri River, hoping it would connect to the Pacific Ocean. And leave aside the fact that this sort of empire expanding led to the genocide of our native peoples in this country. I think it's interesting to note that as they approached what they didn't expect to find, which were the Rocky Mountains, they realized that they would have to carry their canoes and their paddles over the mountains, and of course there was another 1,000 miles of land before they got to the Pacific. They carried those canoes and paddles over the mountains, and then eventually they let go of the canoes, but they kept the paddles, because they can rebuild a canoe, but it's harder to rebuild a paddle. And I think that metaphor works well for us as well. We may not always be able to hold on to the same canoe, but if we hold on to the paddle of trust, friends, we will be able to find a way. We will find a way out of no way. I know we can do this. And so here we are at the first time of a new journey, this understanding of ourselves involved in something much greater than what has been before, perhaps. Something that will be full of experimentation and mistakes. And I will make mistakes, and I will own up to them, and I will say sorry. And I hope you will as well. We will travel for the other goals of our ministry, the shared ministry we're building this year, the growing of our generations, different kinds of people who will find their ways to our door, being known in the communities that we serve, but we need to be patient. We need to be patient because this will take time. We will have to learn how to welcome the unwelcome. We'll have to learn how to love those who may not be as lovable as we'd like them to be. We will have to accept love and make it evident. One of my colleagues once said that She was always worried about finding the way to be her best self as she entered into the world in which she was living. She said, "I'm not always my best self in community. I've shirked dish duty. I've dropped out when I was needed, and I showed up full of pettiness and exhaustion. The wonder of accepting love is only made evident when we're allowed to shed the shiny and let the sourness show." Like Rumi said, "Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again, come." And the line that's not in the hymnal, "Even though we've broken our vows 1,000 times, come, yet again, come." We are part of a community that will have the shiny and not so shiny. We are a part of a community that will ladle soup into each other's bowls. We are part of a community that will show up hungry and show up full. And if you're new to us and you're coming here for the first time, just be here. Just be here and be fed. Because in time, you will do the feeding. Beyond everything else, my beloveds, I want you to remember this. We are the home for those who need us on this journey. We are the home where we will come each and every Sunday, and this has to be the place where we can gather together. And when we hit the rocks, as we will, I want you to remember that you still have the paddle. We still have the paddle to right the boat, get a new boat, and keep paddling. Many years ago, when I was just starting out in ministry, the husband of a beloved elder in the congregation I was serving died quite suddenly, and I failed to give her a call. I don't remember the excuse that I had, but every day led to another day, and every day I didn't make the phone call, I thought, well, I'm just even more ashamed to make it now because it's been a week, it's been 2 weeks, it's been a month. And it was starting to eat me up until one day Francis said, "It's never too late, but don't call her. Go over to her house and knock on the door." Oh my God, great. I thought I could just pick up the phone. Now I got to knock on the door. So I go over to the house and I knock on the door, and she opens the door and she's, "Hello, Reverend John." And I'm thinking, oh boy, here it comes. She doesn't care whether I called or not. She's just glad I came to the door. She's just glad I showed up. She let me in. We had tea and cookies, and we talked about love and healing and her beloved. That's all that matters, friends. Just that we show up. So we're going to start there. We're just going to show up. Because if we don't show up, there's nothing to show up for. This, my dear ones, is going to be our journey together. The night after we dried off from our capsized canoes, we camped under the brilliant northern sky. And I remembered why I was feeling so complete at that moment. We'd found our way home, or rather the river had found it for us. And there we were, a homecoming so very sweet. Under that brilliant northern sky, I remembered why I did what I did. And it was good to be alive. Welcome to the journey, my friends. And may our year be blessed with joy and peace and trust and love. So may it be. Amen. Our closing hymn is number 123, number 123, Spirit of Life. Denton will play it through once, and then we'll sing it the second time. Please rise in body or spirit. knowing that we are one with each other, that the world that we are going to make will require us to show up and to love and to be willing to do what needs to be done. We'll go in peace, we'll go with love, and let us remember that now the service truly begins. Please remain seated for the post.
So many of you know this, but for those of you who don't, I was a student of Dr. Vincent Craig at Westchester U. He was my teacher for 7 years. I did all of my undergrad and graduate study there with him, and it's because of him that I am here today, not just because of the call to action due to his untimely passing, but because I've served here in the past to a substitute capacity, to fill in for Vincent while he was usually off performing, whether it be with his boy choir or performing recitals all over creation. So it's always been a pleasure to come serve. So when asked to come today to fill in for a much different form of his absence, I decided to pick several selections that have a connection, a personal connection between myself and Vincent. For example, the Chopin Nocturne I used for my prelude this morning was one of the pieces of music I played the day I first met him when I auditioned at Westchester. This piece, called Quartality, a fun little play with fourths, was a composition project of mine as I studied keyboard performance and composition at Westchester. And for one of my student recitals, I got up the nerve to ask Vincent, hey, can we program some of my own music? In addition to the Bach and the Debussy and all of the other things, can I play some of my own music? And so of course he agreed. He thought it was a great idea. And we spent several weeks leading up to the recital, rehearsing all of the selections, including those of my own. And this man's musicianship was such that working on a piece of my own creation, a piece of music that he's obviously never heard before and never seen, in lessons, he was able to sight read and play my music better than I can. So I thought it might be fun to share this piece with you. I've definitely never played it here before, and I hope you find it a fun, fitting end to our worship today.